see us, but I guess I didn't refresh the page. And for those of you that are with us, thank you so much for jumping on. And I'm going to share this, and then we'll be ready to go. Hi, Rita. Hi, Sean. Share to a page. There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, now we're ready. Well, almost. Hey everyone, welcome to the New Media Show. My name is Todd Cochran. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Rob, how you be?
I'm doing great, Todd. Back to be doing it on Saturday.
Yes, indeed. It's a very snowy, cold Saturday here. We got a couple of inches of snow last night, but
everybody's getting it.
It's not 5 inches of, it's not 5 degrees anymore. At least it's like 22, 23.
Right.
So,
yeah. Plus, this is going to be a twofer for us today.
Oh.
We're doing this show,
yep.
And then at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, we're doing a Clubhouse thing together.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you want to join us on Clubhouse today, there's information in my Facebook thread. Mm-hmm. Probably should post something over on the New Media Show thread, but there's something in at Geek News. I think you posted something on your Twitter account as well. So
yep, I did.
But that's this afternoon or this evening, early afternoon. Yeah, I guess evening. I guess you have to qualify as evening.
Yeah, and we're going to take questions, and we're going to talk about how to fundamentally start a podcast and how to, in our opinions anyway, how to grow a show.
Yeah, so
there's lots of diverse opinions out there right now about how to go about all these things as the medium diversifies in a lot of different directions.
Come on over and criticize. We'd love to have you. So
challenge our assumptions on how to do this, and it's always a good thing to do.
I saw there was a gal that she said, "Hey, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I recorded my first episode." And I just basically said, "Congratulations, you got 90% further along than a lot of people that decided that they're going to start." And so I was like, "Good, you'll figure this out." I said, when I started, I had no clue,
right?
I think people overanalyze it. I actually got an email from someone that says we're launching 8 shows on July 31st. I'm like, "Oh, really?"
Wow.
You're and they're VC funded startup. So they're going to launch, no, not 8 shows, 1 show with 8 episodes, July 31st. And I was just like, you've already got money? And it's going to take you, this is, let me check the calendar, February, March, April, take you 4 months. Right. So, but that's also the case with some podcasters too. They plan way too much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a launch strategy? I hate it when I see that. That just makes most independent podcasters go, "Oh, it's too hard."
Right. That's true. Though I've been actually going through the process myself of trying to come up with a new show concept myself, and I find myself getting caught up in the gravitational pull of trying to make whatever you're planning on doing, a big impactful thing, right out of the gate. So I do think that there's some pressure that's out there on podcasters to compete at a higher level and to produce, what might be perceived as a higher quality content versus, I think, what all of us have done in the past is just start out rough. If I think back on all the podcasts that I've done, they've always started out rough, and I think this one will be no exception to that. I'm sure even with a lot of planning. So, so I think it's good to get an idea of what you want to accomplish. But yeah, I would agree. Unless your time is very, very short on being able to put into it, I would just get it done and get it moving and evolve it over time and learn from it. That's why it's important not to produce a bunch of episodes in advance, is because you may not wind up doing the same thing you started, so.
Well, I always say that episode 10 is not going to sound like episode 1, and episode
Right.
10 is not going to sound like, episode 20 is not going to sound like episode 10. So
Right.
I don't think I found my battle rhythm. I think it takes, really, especially if you have quote unquote a new mic time. If you have no mic time,
Yeah.
45, it's, maybe people are getting better because we're doing Zoom meetings and stuff, but I think like 30, 40 episodes before most podcasters really kind of find their battle rhythm. But
Mhm.
I find myself falling into bad habits all the time as well. So I have to kind of refresh my stuff, refresh what I do. So
Right. No, I think that's smart. Well, Todd, I was diving into those fancy microphones that we were talking about on the last episode, the binaural microphones.
Yeah.
And in production process, I was trying to learn about that stuff a little bit, and I found that those those microphones are really interesting because they have ears on the side of them. So they're trying to simulate a human head. So you basically buy a microphone with two microphones in like simulated ears, like rubber ears
Right.
on each side of, almost like some headphones. And I saw some guys on YouTube that were making these microphones out of regular old, big old fashioned headphones, and they're basically attaching these silicone ears to the outside of the headphones, and then running the same kind of microphone into the ear opening, and kind of creating this whole same thing that you can spend $3,000 or $4,000 buying a binaural microphone, and just totally replicate it. It's really interesting, and the kind of sound it creates is not unlike what we hear in our world around us. So it's very interesting to think about, if each one of us were to have a binaural microphone sitting right in front of us, would it sound much different? And I'm not really sure that it would, because the whole principle behind it is trying to capture sound almost like a 360 degree kind of sound effect is what you're trying to do. If you're sitting right in front of a person that you're talking to, it's going to be very much like listening to maybe a stereo or a mono a recording, because it's not coming from various directions. So I thought it was interesting way of looking at it, but you can spend like $8,000 on one of these binaural microphones. It's crazy.
well, this show, those of you that follow this show know that
Yeah.
I record everything to a single track. They're not split. You're not on a single track. You're not on a separate. It's one stereo track, and it is what it is.
Well, and
And-
that's what these are too. Is they're not trying to like record in like 4 tracks or 8
Oh,
tracks or
really?
anything like that. What they're doing is they're just recording 2 microphone inputs, the same position as our ears, and so it turns into a stereo recording.
So there's
is
a
what it
right
does.
left channel. Then it's going.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. Which in some ways with podcasting, it can create a disorienting effect depending on how it's done. But it's really interesting how you're playing into how your natural way of hearing is, which is, hearing on both sides of your head. So when you hear sounds on the right, they sound louder than it comes in on the left. So but it does kind of conflict with the strategy around, a mono listening experience, which can be a little bit more, I don't know what the right word is, more consistent, less disorienting. And in some ways, it's like a 3D listening experience is what it is somewhat.
If you're doing a storyteller show where someone's walking up behind you, this kind of stuff is good, when it comes to, trying to tell stories.
Yeah, I mean, if you're out and about and you're trying to walk down the street and you're doing let's say, a recording between 2 actors or something like that walking down the street, a binaural recording microphone might be an interesting solution there.
Right.
But, I'm not exactly sure how that would actually be used in that process. But Todd, I don't know if you wanted to pull up what one of these microphones looks like.
Yeah. Can you send me the link or Do I need to Google it? Or?
Well, here, let me give you a name to the one that I've been looking at. And like I said, you can actually create one of these things for like half of the money that it would cost to actually buy one.
Well, probably a tenth. You said $8,000.
Right. Well, they do have one that's $399.
Oh,
so
starter kit.
Yeah, it is.
What's the name of it?
Yeah, if you go to Google and just type in 3DIO, the number 3D and I and then O.
Yeah, go to 3dio.com.
Yeah.
3D-IO. Well, I'm on their blog. Wait a minute, let me back up. Is it 3DIO sound? Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yep. So let me show the audience. We have this technology. It's waiting for the page to update. Come on. There it is. Oh my God. It looks so bizarre, Rob. They got ears on this, actual ears on the side.
Yeah, exactly.
There's really something wrong there. Now what they've got is they've got two outputs out the bottom. So
yeah, well, there's one for each track. So you would use a regular mixer, and you basically would use.
It would be two inputs.
It would probably be two inputs. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that would just be fun to have as a prop here in the studio. I'd like to have that just kind of behind. We could replace the Red Bull sign with the. That is. Please tell me this is not really what they. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are listening, you have to go look at these at 3diosound.com. Please tell me if it doesn't the creepiest thing you've ever seen.
Well, if you look at some of the other models, there's one in here for $2,000 that you can get. But if you really analyze what the parts are inside of these things, it's maybe worth like maybe $1,000.
So they've got max. One with the two ears, and then what is the? Is that the navel cavity? What did they do on the Omni binaural microphone that has? Yeah, it looks like eyeballs and then sign.
Yes.
Oh my!
So actually, the ideal way of doing this is to put it on like a mannequin head, and basically have the shape of the head.
Yeah.
That's your microphone, and the ones that are really expensive are basically installed into a mannequin head almost. It's like a metal mannequin head.
I'm sorry,
so
this is just
it's totally replicating what you would hear as a human, right?
It's very weird. It really, really is. It's very odd.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it actually creeps me out a little bit.
Can you imagine if you had that on a boom mic?
Oh no!
And then you just kind of hold it back here.
Oh, it's that TikTok song. Oh no! Oh no! Oh my gosh!
But this is what this was announced by iHeartRadio that they were going to be doing. Like radio dramas, that kind of stuff, using this kind of technology. To when you set these up in like a recording studio basically, and you have actors that you place these in different places in the room, and you can create this kind of like this natural listening experience kind of thing.
So there's some audio that you can listen to there, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want to go over, they've got some stuff that's on there. So it's mostly used in film, but I understand why they're doing it in audio. But
yeah, and I saw there's some demonstrations of it being one of these things installed on top of a video camera, right, and you're walking down the street with whoever you have as your subject, and they're talking to the camera into these ears.
And it really is ears, folks. It's plastic ears mounted to the side of a. Those would be cool just to have in the studio as a wall mount, not as speakers, just something that's on the side, a big ear in the back, right? I think that would, I'm going to see if I can find
I think that actually buying a mannequin head, right, and putting it on a stake or on a pole or something, like a Microsoft stand, and then installing these things on it would be kind of cool, right?
I got a skull back there, Rob.
You do?
Yeah, look where I'm pointing.
Where? I can't see it.
Yeah, you're on. Sorry, you're only getting the other camera feed. So I've got a steampunk. It's a skull head with the steampunk goggles and horns that
There you
are
go.
yeah. So let me see here if I can. Yeah, it's in the edge of the picture, so most people can't see it. But yeah, it's so all I got to do is wire some microphones into the ear of the skull, and I'm good.
Well, I saw some guys on YouTube that were replicating these by just using some large, some regular headphones,
Right.
and then installing them on the outside of the headphones.
Yeah.
So you could basically use your headphones like
poor
like a
man's way of
Right.
doing it. So
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, any of you that actually do this, we want to hear your show. If any of you do this, please, I'm serious. I want to, I want to hear it. So if you do something like that, you can. So yeah, it's yep. Well, I can't believe you actually went and researched this. You have way
I
too
did.
you
I
have
was
way
curious
too
about
much
it,
you have
right?
way too much time on your hands. I have to talk to Lori.
It didn't take too much time, Todd. I just did
Okay.
a quick search.
So
And yeah, it would be interesting to have that as a microphone option here. So
so I see you guys spent some money this week.
a little bit.
Yeah, how much you guys spend?
I don't know.
So why don't you tell everyone about this new acquisition you guys made?
Oh, it's just playing around with trying to move into a little bit more of the creation side of creating content.
Well, you've
versus-
got a whole new creation department, so sounds like you're hiring some people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's part of the strategy of trying to make things easier for podcasters. It's the same game that you've been playing for a long time. It's a game that I was playing when I worked at Spreaker, making tools that help people create content, not just publish it.
Right.
So that's what this is about, and trying to think about the concept of, creating it simple, a step-by-step, almost like a wizard process for creating a podcast.
Right.
And if we can make it better. I mean, it's still a little rough right now with what's available right now. It hasn't been integrated or anything like that. So we're working our way through it. But I think it's an interesting concept of a way to produce a podcast.
I guess
it didn't get a lot of market traction prior to our acquisition of it, but I think the concept of it, if you integrate it into a platform like ours, it starts to make a little bit of sense.
Yeah, I just wonder. I think there's a certain demographic of podcasters that would potentially use that,
But not all. You're right.
And I know who you're targeting. You're targeting the Anchor crowd. You're trying to make it easier because you're trying to make it very simple for someone to come in and do something. I think the average podcaster is still going to have a Rodecaster or going to have a recorder or.
Well, it doesn't keep you from doing.
No, it doesn't.
It just adds another layer of a step-by-step process, right? Almost like a wizard production process is what it is. And I didn't even have that at Spreaker. I mean, Spreaker was very much positioned towards just doing things live.
Right. Right.
This is a little bit more pre-production type of a creation process, which is I think better fits with more potential podcasters.
Makes sense. Well, anyway, so what's the name of the company that you guys bought? So those that don't know it,
Auxbus.
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 It's interesting. I'm very familiar with. We talked to them last year, so. And there's a couple others that have been trying to do this. One of them went out of business. Another company that tried to do this because they didn't get enough traction, and and I actually tried at the time to buy some code, but they wanted insane amounts of money for it. So,
right,
but as far as I know, that all went still dead somewhere in somebody's computer hard drive. But yeah, it's interesting.
Well, there's always a lot of cool ideas that die because of lack of attention or resources.
Right. Yeah.
And that this is one of those that it's a good idea, but it was lacking in marketing and resources. So.
Yeah, but that's always a challenge, especially when you're maybe building the thing out of your back of your pocket,
Right.
which a lot of people are. So, well, good on you guys for scooping that up. What's next?
What's next? I don't know what's next.
Uh-huh.
There may be something next. There may not be. Who knows,
Okay.
Todd?
You cannot confirm nor deny, right? A little SEC thing going on there.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe just a little here. So I was actually going to look and see what I think you guys are. Lizin, what is your guys' stock thing? So you guys are. Your stock really didn't do too much. Stayed at about. It's down 2 cents. So I don't think there's anything really there, any big market movers. So let me get you your 5-day run. Yeah. So the market didn't react too much from it. You guys needed to do a little more PR. You should have got a big bump in stock, like $6 or $7.
There you go. Well, yeah, we'll see on that.
And just so everybody knows, I know I'm being very careful here. Rob can get in big trouble by saying anything. Okay, so I'm teasing him a little bit here, but he cannot comment about potential future earnings or anything like that. Now I can say all I want.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, you can give me a hard time, big time.
Oh, good for you guys. Yeah, congrats. So, I think I got a little text yesterday. I don't know if he talked to anybody else, and I can't reveal yet because it's 6 days away, but I think we're going to see a new tool that's going to come out that may be of some interest to podcasters.
Tool from you guys?
No, not from us, from someone else. As a matter of fact, I can't even talk about it because he didn't say I couldn't, but if I say what it is, someone might try to rush out and build something similar. So I'm just going to be quiet and say that there's probably going to be a good tool. People are going to be able to find some interesting data about podcasts. Can I be even any more vague than that?
I don't think so.
But your conversation last night about it with the individual. So I got to see a preview page.
Well, there's always a lot of new apps that are being worked on, and I talk to people all the time too. But there's just a bunch of them out there that are, the latest one that popped up last week was Podzy, which I submitted our show to. It didn't actually have it in there already, which was surprising. But,
well, I'm finding more and more new apps are not using the Apple database. So what is Podzy?
It's just another listening app. I guess it has Paris Hilton as an investor in it or something like that.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So
Podzy, your audio newsfeed, podcast highlights designed for the iPhone. Your audio newsfeed, 60-second highlights of podcasts you love. Save your favorites. So they only sample 60 seconds?
Well, that's on the sampling side. So
you
can get access to the full.
Do they only play the first 60 seconds of a show?
I think that's the first thing that they play as a preview, right?
We're screwed.
You can.
No one's going to know what this show does in the first 60 seconds.
Well, that's maybe we need to change our format, Todd. Talk a little quicker or talk a little shorter. I'm not quite sure which one that is.
Yeah, I'm not going to run like the car salesman disclaimer. Yeah, this offer is only available for 2 hours, and it's only on VIN number, and you can get it $89.99. Right. Yeah, what? No, I'm not going to do that.
So Podzy is an audio news feed made from the best parts of podcasts. What it's doing here.
If they're sampling, though, does that go against some people's Creative Commons? Maybe not.
It depends on how they're doing it, I guess.
Yeah.
If they're creating it and then redistributing it, or if they're just doing somehow like a jump link or something.
Yep.
Which I guess it wouldn't even be a jump link. It would actually just play. It's hard to really say what the big difference is between this and what normally happens.
Right.
Really, if you think about it.
So,
like we've always told podcasters, create the first 60 seconds of your show as a sales pitch for your what's in the episode, which we don't really do, but I think most podcasts should.
So I will tell you yesterday, we got an email from a radio celebrity.
That's right. I think I saw this on Facebook.
A radio celebrity.
So a celebrity that's on the radio, or somebody that's famous because they've been on the radio?
They're syndicated, and
they are.
A couple hundred stations. And you know how hard it is to get to a couple hundred. That's a pretty big number.
Mm-hmm.
And he hosted his website, podcast, and feed on let's just put it this way, a very high-end, very expensive WordPress hosting platform. So,
was that AWS, Amazon?
No, but I'm not going to say who, because we're going to have a fun press release at some point. But they basically said to him, and matter of fact, this isn't the first instance it's happened this week. They said, we're not doing podcast. We don't want to be in the podcast business. We want to be your web host, but we don't want to be in we don't want to be in the podcast business space.
Podcast hosting business space. Is that what you're saying?
Well, what it is the load on downloads and the load on the feed is resource intensive for this particular show.
Right.
And he's been advertising this company for a long time. And they basically they put him on the clock and said, we're done. And find a new place to live.
He was probably costing him a big chunk of money, huh?
No, I looked over the data, and I think what it is that maybe some executive at that company told their salespeople or told someone, if a customer is costing, let's say we're only getting 6 times revenue, so because some of these services make a lot of money on the back end of these services, they have multiple, it's like you pay $10, but it only costs $1 to deliver. So they're making, 9 times revenue, or however that math is. So if I got it wrong in the business side, then, screw me. But I think probably what they did was they went and say, okay, and he was paying I'll just leave it at this, that I'm just speculating, but I'm speculating that he hit some threshold, some revenue threshold that basically said, let's say he was making 2 times revenue. And they told, go get rid of all the accounts that are only making us 2 times revenue, or 5 times revenue instead of 9, or whatever it is that they were looking to. But if you're in that business, for good and bad. You can't cherry pick and get rid of your high paying customer, high usage customers, just because maybe you're even losing money on the account. That's the business you're in.
Right.
If it's a business you and I are in, we got customers that cost us more money than they're paying us by magnitude sometimes.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll have a little discussion about that at some point here down the road. But right now it's just a matter of getting things moved so that when they pull the plug in 3 or 4 days, he's still on the air, literally, with this podcast. But this isn't the first time this particular company has caused podcasters grief. Matter of fact, we're seeing it more and more from that specific company. So I don't want to call them out yet because we will write we'll write something up about it and lay out what happened.
So is it a company that's well known as supporting podcasts?
No, they're well known as being a WordPress host.
That's all. Oh, okay.
High-end WordPress host.
High end. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
You're not a $12 a month account.
Got it.
Hundreds of dollars per month for an account, or thousands, or maybe even tens of thousands of dollars per month. Again, it's for high-end, high-traffic, shows that are websites that are
supposedly built to handle such things. Is that what you're saying?
supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it's all about, I keep, I tell this to podcasters, it's about resources oftentimes.
Right.
So the folks that self-host, it's just not a matter of when. Well, it is a matter of when. It's going to happen. It happens, to everyone. Every web host provider at some point is going to come back to you and say, "Hey, you got 300 media files that you're serving on your website. We're not in the media hosting business, and you're using too many resources because a show gets uploaded and all of a sudden you see a spike and it brings the other 500 websites that you're sharing your site with on that server brings them to their knees."
Right.
So
interesting. Yeah.
So it is interesting, So we'll talk about how we mitigated it and what the end result was. So, so yeah, go ahead.
I mean, go ahead and wrap up your thoughts if you were going to wrap up.
It's just one of those things where you feel bad because they're cruising along doing business, and all of a sudden the rug is pulled off from underneath them, And it goes back to what, it's not like we don't already know that this happens, because it does.
Right. Right.
And that's why companies like ours exist, and yours.
Right. Yeah, it's been going on for
since the beginning. Since the beginning.
At website hosting platforms.
Right.
Yeah.
And they want to be web hosts. They don't want to be media hosts.
Right. Because it typically costs them a lot more money.
Right. Definitely traffic-wise it does. So anyway, that was my thought. We can move on.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to mention that yesterday was Africa Podcast Day.
It is Black History Month, so it was actually Africa Podcast Day was yesterday then, in conjunction with Black History Month.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. Yeah, that would make sense. I guess they had a bunch of speakers. Looks like they had about 270 people attend this conference. Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. So what was the where they hold it? What website did they hold it on?
On the Hopin.com, HOPIN.com.
Hopin.com.
Yeah, it's an online virtual events platform.
Oh, that's okay. A lot of those out there right now.
Yeah, there are. And the Hindenburg folks were sponsors of it. There, let's see, a couple of the other folks I didn't recognize in there, but that doesn't surprise me. But they had people, from Africa teaching sessions.
Oh, wait a minute. It was actually, so I sent, wow. So it was actually, all right, I'm following you now.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, the Africa Podfest is actually what I'm looking at.
Okay. Well, I wish we had heard about that last week. We could have publicized it here.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're having an event, this is what you need to do. You send us a note so we can talk about it. Rob and I don't always look at event calendars unless we're involved in something. So,
yeah, I try and keep up with this stuff to some degree. Yeah, I didn't mention it on Wednesday. I probably should have.
So, well, I'm glad they had a good turnout.
Mm-hmm. It's just too bad you couldn't do it in the real world.
Well, people are starting to get their shots. So,
yeah, you never know.
I think by April or May, maybe June, I think things are going to hopefully loosen up a little bit.
Yeah. So it does look like a podcasting organization is starting to form out of Africa. And so maybe there's going to be more and more events happen from that part of the world. It could be good.
And I just wonder how many podcasts are down there,
I don't know. I guess that's what they're trying to encourage and kind of expose and bring out to the fold. Because you're right, Todd. I don't know that many of us know much about what's happening with podcasting in that part of the world right now. So,
do we know which country?
That was interesting.
Yeah. Do we know which country it originated out of, or was just a whole continent?
Doesn't really.
Didn't really say.
Focus on a particular country. I think you're probably only looking at where probably the organizers live. That's what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, because being that it was, and for those of you that didn't catch my, this is Black History Month, but Africa is a big, is massive.
Oh, it's a huge country.
It's
right.
a continent.
Well, it's multiple countries.
And with multiple countries, right? Yeah.
Right.
And
one of the co-directors is out of Kenya. So it looks like one of the leaders at least is out of Kenya.
And I think we've heard some news recently about data cost and all that in some places in Africa being a challenge. Of course, in most places where people have to pay for, extraordinary amounts for data.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where we were talking about on Wednesday around the encoding file size and how important that might be to areas such as these around the world for being able to get access to the content.
Right.
And that's where James Cridlin was pushing on trying to get down to the 32K or whatever on a optional format for those, for that part of the world.
Did we talk about Starlink on the last show?
Oh, I don't believe so. Yeah, that's the satellite network that Elon Musk is putting up. Right. Yeah.
So, here in the studio, I have 430. I've got good bandwidth here. Commercial account. It's been very robust. No complaints. I'm streaming to pushing 3 separate streams at once. We're going to live stream. We're going to YouTube, and we're going to Wowza. Then Wowza's restreaming. So I'm doing 3 uplinks right now, and on 90% of the time, everything's been good here. We've had a couple issues. One show where the bandwidth is bad, but if I drive the 13 miles to what I term the compound or my loft, I'm in my closest neighbor, and and I was growing up, I could run around the yard naked and no one would see me unless a car drove by. But now I think I got a neighbor that's maybe 350 feet away, something like that, and then the other neighbor's a quarter of a mile. And the other way, it's a quarter of a mile. And up until 10 years ago, it was a dirt road. That we are paved. We actually have. It's not really paved. It's like, maybe it is paved. I don't know. But anyway, it's hard. It's not. You don't have dust behind your car when you're driving down my road. And for years, when I used to come home from Hawaii, I always used to dread it because I would have to put a MiFi someplace high in the house where I could get a little bit of signal, and then maybe I would have a meg or two to do email.
Right.
and his phone systems got better, then we were able to tether phones, and at least I did. My mom did, or things. And now I've got a 40-foot tower.
Right.
My sister and I have a 40-foot tower with 2 antennas on it. She pays $89.95 for service, and I pay $89.95 for service for the pleasure of having 15 down and 3 up. Well,
up to you.
8 down usually, and about a half a meg up. And then when it's summer, when all the leaves are on the trees, then the speed even go a little lower because I got a 40-foot tower. I really need a 100-foot tower.
Right. Yeah.
So we're living in a world now where broadband is, well, I believe broadband should be universal right. It would, everyone should have broadband internet. And I can't complain too much because I can at least watch Netflix, but I can't do something else. I can do one thing at a time.
Right.
And that's about it. So I put my sister ordered one, I ordered one. So we're both on the list to get Starlink antennas. And sometime later this year, we might be good, and get this. Well, it's going to range from about 50 down to about 150 down. But Rob, everything I've seen is 20 up. So I'm like, 20 up. I can do a show at 20 up.
Right.
I can live stream a show. Now, right now, you won't be able to because there's every once in a while there's a 30-second gap because there's not enough overlap. They've got the satellites doing this.
Well, they're still launching satellites, right?
Right, and they've got about 1,000 satellites up, but I think the first round they want to have like 4,000 where there's no holes. And these things are in LEO, low Earth orbit, and they're moving. It's not like they're stationary. It's not like the Hughes system where it's up there 26,000 miles, and the speed of light takes so much. Have huge delay times, but they're seeing like 20 milliseconds from a click to a response, and that's pretty good. Gamers are, it's not going to be the best experience for gamers, but when you have now, what goes on is if my sister has there's 7 in her she's got 4 kids, and my sister and her husband and then my mom all live in the same house, and they're sharing 15.3. So the kids get frustrated because they want to game or whatever, so they tether their phones, and then they burn bandwidth up. So this is going to be a game changer. This is going to and I feel I really have a passion about this because the U.S. government has paid AT&T, all these companies, billions and billions and billions of dollars to expand rural broadband.
Right.
So what they do is they say, here's the edge of our service, and they expand the edge of their service a little bit further, or pick an area where there's a little bit higher density, but it really leaves the rest of rural America screwed.
Yeah. I
knew a guy that was 1,000 feet from a cable end. 1,000 feet, his neighbors has internet, and the cable company wanted $120,000 to bring it 1,000 feet.
Right.
So,
yeah.
For those that live in areas where you've got great connectivity, I spent 20, 25 years with high-speed internet. I still complained about it because it had issues, but think about the change here. Elon Musk and Starlink and all the other ones that are putting up satellite services. This could truly transform, because let's talk about Africa. So once the satellite density is high enough, maybe an individual can't afford the Starlink system, but maybe a community center would be able to bring.
Are they talking about making the system available on mobile devices?
No, you have to have a dish to point at the satellite. But if you have the dish, what they did in Alaska is.
So this is where 5G comes in, right?
So let's think about Alaska, where there was no cell service, completely isolated community. They brought in 4 systems put them up on the roof of the community centers,
Right.
and wired. And basically now this remote place in Alaska has high-speed internet.
Right.
Even though maybe the individual can't afford to pay the $99 a month service fee and the $500 antenna, but a community that
Right.
maybe has some government resources or whatever can afford to bring these in and set them up and bring broadband where broadband didn't exist before. So
Right. Right.
this is huge. This is game changing for many people across the planet. And if
Right.
you're in Africa and you're having you just have a mobile phone and that's the only connectivity you have,
Yeah.
and if they can bring in, I think it's going to be huge worldwide. I know people in Australia that have already ordered Starlink systems.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think it's interesting. I was trying to figure out what the nexus of this technology is with the 5G stuff that's being worked on right now too. Because if you think about what 5G is, it's very localized connectivity, right?
Well,
Almost ground level.
I'm sure they're going to use some of this to extend. Yeah, who knows? Yeah, if I was Elon Musk or that Starlink team, the potential here is really, it's. And if you live somewhere where there's already high speed internet, you don't need this. This is something you don't need.
Right.
But if you don't have high speed and you want high speed, this is a solution. You just have to be able to see the North Sky, a pretty big patch of it right now.
Right.
So you got, if you have trees in the way or something, that's going to be a problem. But
so it says as of January 27th, SpaceX has launched 1,035 Starlink satellites, and it looks like they plan on uploading. I say launch.
Well, there's three
12,000 satellites.
Yeah, there's actually three phases. The first phase, I think, is 28 or 4,800, and then phase 2 is to get to 12. But they've already petitioned to go all the way up, I think, as high as 30,000.
Yeah, I think I saw that 30,000 number.
But they can only put 60 on Falcon 9. They can only launch 60 at a time on Falcon 9. So that tells you, when you think about his reusable rocket technology, well, he's putting these up on. Matter of fact, what's going to happen at some point is I'm sure they are using Starlink as a platform to see how long that first stage booster can last. Can we get 8, 9, 10, 20 out of it before it goes boom?
Right.
So at some point, one of those they're going to figure out what the shelf life for one of those rockets are.
Right. Someone's going to get lost when they find out.
At some point, right?
Right.
Maybe not. Maybe they'll say, okay, we know it. Looking, it's landed. They've taken it back. They do the stress test. Okay, we're done. We're at 12. That's all it could handle.
So it looks like they're planning on launching satellites every 2 weeks.
Right.
And it looks like they could get up to a total of 42,000 satellites up in orbit.
So the challenge with this is too. There's already
flying around.
Yes, there is. This is in LEO, so they've got ion thrusters. So they've already deorbited some of their first gen ones. They've already brought down a number of them, so they can deorbit these things. But
when they burn up in the atmosphere, is that what happens?
Right, yeah. But Amazon wants to get in this business. They want to put satellites up. They've already said they're going to compete with Elon Musk on this. So. Very, very quickly, this guy and astronomers are very worried about this because of the sky.
You'll be able to see through the cloud of satellites.
Yeah, sky pollution.
Sky pollution.
Well, they've already had to redesign the Starlink antennas so they don't reflect so much light. They changed it so that because you could see them go because they're so low.
Right.
280 miles or something like that is what the orbit is.
Huh. Yeah,
but for me. I'm just like, because technically I could shut this down and move, if it works, I could move the studio back to the compound and, not spend rent here, electricity here.
Right.
But supposedly no limits until someone abuses it. So all of us that use it are going to be careful not to abuse it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just hard to predict what the impact of this is going to be. That in combination with 5G, I'm just not 100% clear
but
on how this is all
5G will never come to the area I live. Never. They'll never have 5G. There's not enough density. It's the same situation.
Right.
So here's what I tell people. Here's the impact. Turn your cell phone signal off. Turn your Wi-Fi off every day at 5 o'clock. And then turn it back on when you have connectivity again, when you go into a town the next morning at 8 a.m. to go to work. Tell me that's not going to have an impact.
Right.
Or you're in a remote area and you're living, and the only time you go to town is to get your internet fixed, download your email every 2 or 3 days. I know people in Alaska that they drive several hours just to get internet.
Hey, Todd, I just had a thought. Elon Musk is into basically building rolling iPads, right? And he's got some large metal surface areas on those cars, and those cars could sit in driveways connected to solar panels.
Rob, okay, let me tell you about solar.
And batteries in the house. So, I mean, no, I'm just trying to piece it together here. So there's no reason why those cars couldn't become satellite antennas. Because they're big enough to become one, right?
No, because the way Leo is that antenna has to track. It's not a fixed position. So you need to look at Dishy and see what.
Well, if they have 42,000 satellites up there, will it really matter?
If they can figure out how to put a phased array antenna on a Tesla that's driven electrically, it is possible.
I was just thinking, I mean, if you start piecing all the pieces together, I can start to visualize what you might be trying to build.
If the roof is electrically driven phased array, maybe, but you're not going to see a Tesla driving down the road with a tilting antenna. So, here's the thing about solar. I'm all in for solar because I put 32 panels on my home in Hawaii.
Right.
And I brought my electric bill down from $500 a month to $0.
Right.
And even though that system costs, I don't know, 30 some, maybe 36, 37,000, I got like 8, 9, 10K back from the state and the government.
Right.
And that system paid for itself in 3 years and 2 months or something like that. Of course, I was in a zone 6. I was in the highest sun zone. But as solar panels start to come down in price, but they're not, they're still about $800 a piece.
Well, now Elon Musk is building solar panels that look like regular roof tiles. So.
Go ahead and price that out for your home, and let me know how that works out. So,
how about just plain aesthetics on the home value, right?
Well, yeah, but still, hey, Rob, when someone rolls, if you got a for sale sign on your home, right, and someone rolls into your driveway and you've got 32 solar panels on your roof, your house value just went up $100,000.
Right. No, but that's my point about those Tesla solar panels too, right?
Yeah. But again, Hawaii's a unique case because electricity is so high. So here, the electricity is not as high, so the payback is longer. But still, if I roll into somebody's house here in Michigan or wherever, and there's panels on the roof, I'm gonna like, first of all, how old are the panels? Because there we get about 20 years out of them.
Right.
Then, what is it doing for your electricity bill?
Mm-hmm.
And why we don't push into a battery, the meter runs, we have a special meter that shows how much we're pushing back.
Yeah, you're selling it up to the grid as an offset.
And in Hawaii, it's a one. I was grandfathered in. It's a 1-for-1. Many states, it's not. So for some states where you can't get a 1-for-1, so if a cost of a kilowatt costs me 26 cents and I push back a kilowatt and they give me 26 in credit, that's fantastic. But most states, there's an offset. If you're cost you 15 cents, they let you sell it back at 10. In that instance, it's over the long term a better idea to have some of Elon Musk batteries in your
Right.
mounted to your
Garage,
home.
right,
So
to actually store it.
to store it.
So is there any, so as you think about this Starlink system, is there any benefit that you can think of to podcasting from that development?
So you have an employee at your company. Everyone loves Elsie. Elsie is in a bandwidth.
Well, she's gotten a better connection now.
Which for years she was in a bandwidth challenged environment.
Yeah. She's got a better connection now.
Well, what does this do for it? It's more than just podcasting. It's business. It's everything.
Online media, right?
Yeah, it's everything. You know, I go ahead. Okay. I used to bring, I have brought computers to this office, plugged them into the LAN to get updates. Because otherwise it took a week to download an update from my computer. It's just, there's a whole bunch of things that change with getting high-speed internet. And podcasting is going to be one of those benefits for people that are, and YouTubers and everything else is going to improve.
Well, one thing that I think is a new normal that's happening, and I'm trying to keep track on some of this to some degree out there, is because of what's happened with this pandemic and how it's caused everybody to have the option of working from home, that people are starting to think about living outside of the urban areas, right? More and more, which means that people can basically more and more live wherever they want to, which is going to scatter people all over the place. So we're not going to be as densely populated as you look to the future.
People are buying up houses. Cities. People from the urban areas are buying stuff up here. House prices in rural America, good luck.
It's going up.
Oh, it's not went up. It's skyrocketed up. People are having bidding wars over rural properties right now because they want to.
Well, as you think about moving in from the coasts, just in general, I think that there's a lot of stuff going on around that's.
Well, they're running away from high taxes. They're running away from all kinds of government stupidity, and they're going places where they can be free, and live the American dream.
It's not all about politics. It's not about economics.
It's economics. That's right. When you're taxed to death,
it's all really economics at the end of the day. And if people can move from areas that are expensive to less expensive areas, and they don't have to quit their jobs, or they can keep their same jobs, then I think people are doing that more and more.
Yeah, and if now they can get high-speed internet,
right?
Then it changes the dynamic. And also, what happens is people that move into local communities, they have left a city. There are business opportunities that did not exist. So you have a lot of these people that are coming into these smaller. I'm seeing businesses pop up, starting to start, because this area that I live in right now, someone would clean up if they come in with a couple of 3 or 4 star restaurants, just 2 or 3. They would clean up in this town. It's a whole different ball game in rural America, and if you don't live there, you don't realize how good you've got it. I can drive to Kalamazoo, or I can drive to Grand Rapids, or I can go to Lansing, all 45 minutes to an hour away. If I go to Grand Rapids, that's 2 hours. There's everything there that I'm used to having in Hawaii.
Right.
From a food standpoint, Panera Bread, all these cool places. Here, that's not the case. So if people have the ability to live in rural America, have high-speed internet, they can build businesses, I think it changes everything. But at the same point, does that mean we have more podcasters? Maybe. Maybe we have more podcasters.
I don't know that it means maybe that we have more podcasters. I think it's going to grow naturally. It just feels like people's ability to feel less restricted on where they can live, and if they can get better deals on housing, and they can have lower costs of living and still maintain their living, it's probably good for the whole country in general. Because what we've been going through over the last few years is people move into the urban areas because that's where the jobs are, right? So and people have to be close
Yep.
to work so
Yep.
they can commute to work. And it's just like it's driven everybody
Right.
compacted into these big cities, and it doesn't have to be that way as much anymore. But there are going to be a lot of people that get lost in that too, because they don't have the flexibility of being able to move out of the city.
Well, and I think part of it too is the concern I have is the school system here had a huge issue trying to get people connected, because there was, I think the percentage was
Right.
just a little under 50% did
Right.
not have internet at the house, or something that would handle a Zoom call.
Right.
The internet I had for $90 a month, I could do one Zoom call, and sometimes it would be pixelated. So
Right.
my sister's kids were doing homeschooling at home, and they had to basically say, and what's crazy is my brother-in-law or son, my brother-in-law is a teacher, so he was remote teaching from home, and he had his kids going to school, and sometimes they couldn't do it, so they would come up here and get connected to the internet so they could go to school. It was, and then the school was having to send home Wi-Fi's and stuff like that in order to get the kids that didn't have connectivity connected. So,
Right.
and it wasn't because the families were, let me be careful. There were some kids that didn't have internet connectivity because it was a economic situation.
Right.
Mom and dad
Right.
couldn't afford, or mom couldn't afford internet access besides what was on the cell phone. Some of the situations where kids had just no access, they were in a dead zone. They were in a zero connectivity area. So
Right.
I don't think people realize that there is, and then you've got the other issues with people being able to afford internet. So that's why they want kids back in the classroom, because they just don't have the resources at home, or sometimes not even getting food. So we're way off the topic on podcasting here, but I think as we become more connected, what it also does is opens up the ability for people to have access to YouTube, podcast, Netflix, all this stuff. I'm sure
in more parts of the country, and as people move out of the urban areas into other parts of the country, that internet connectivity is going to follow them.
Right.
And there's going to be more of an economic interest. And I think that could be what's being tapped into here as you think about why Elon Musk and all these guys are investing in this, is because they're seeing the global trends that are happening.
Right.
People are moving out of the big cities into the rural areas. We got to get connectivity to those people. So
there's a bigger
an economic
reason.
opportunity
There's
there.
a bigger reason Elon Musk is doing this. So just hear this out. So they got $900 million from the U.S. government as part of a rural expansion, and part of that rural expansion requires a certain amount of latency. So he has to keep the speed up.
Right.
Of course, AT&T and these other companies didn't do that, but I'm sure he's going to be scrutinized heavily. So he's getting 900 from the government to help put more satellites up to expand rural broadband. So he's going to do what AT&T and all these other companies couldn't.
Right.
But with that is a $100 a month subscription fee that all of us are going to be paying. You scale that to global. Now Elon Musk has, Rob, your Tesla stock. If somebody wants to buy, if you can buy a Tesla, this is the stock to buy. This thing's going nowhere but up, because what does he have
Starlink
to?
stock? You mean?
Huh?
Or
Well, I think
Starlink stock or Tesla?
I don't think Starlink. I think Tesla. I don't think Starlink. Maybe you can look it up. I don't think Starlink has done an IPO.
Okay, so it's still under the
Tesla brand, right?
brand, right? Okay.
So where does Elon Musk want to go? He wants to go to Mars.
Well,
He wants to colonize Mars. Now, how do you get to Mars? You have to have a big pile of reoccurring cash. You have to have a huge amount of money coming in, because governments are the only ones that have been able to go to the moon.
Right.
If we want to go to Mars and colonize Mars and be able to send enough stuff to Mars to keep people alive and not die, well, that's going to require $1 million or $2 million $100 accounts a month from all these global customers on Starlink to be able to fund Elon getting to Mars.
Yeah. And you just think about all the other businesses that Elon's getting into, right? I think it pales in comparison to what we see Amazon as today.
Well, Amazon wants to put their own dealie up because what they're devastating. Malls, man, if you own property in malls, man, you that is the ultimate, wow, ultimate suck. Right now it's the ultimate suck because Amazon just, and they've destroyed, this pandemic is just, there's not going to be a Macy's left. Maybe in the big high density cities there's going to be, but everywhere there was a mall before, if you have a city less than 50,000 people, the mall is gone.
Well, a lot of those malls are going to be converted into distribution centers for right,
or skate rinks or something. Who knows? It's They definitely are not going to. Yeah, probably there'll be distribution centers, but I think everyone hated Walmart. Well, Amazon
drones
is the new.
Amazon's the roof of these malls is what's going to happen, right?
So, who's going to be the first podcaster on Mars? That's the question.
Oh boy, Todd. I think it's going to be an astronaut. What do you think? Yeah.
Well,
it's not going to be me. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're too old. So am I.
No, it's more. I'm too tall.
You're too tall.
Too tall. Right.
Okay.
I wouldn't fit in the spaceship.
Well, that's one way of selective reproduction. Is everyone that goes to Mars has to be certain height. That messes up all the genes.
So, right. It's called genetic engineering, which is a whole nother topic we could talk about.
Oh, no. This is, but I'm excited about being able to really think, because when I came back, I originally thought I would build the studio on the compound, but it just very quickly became a no-brainer. It just wouldn't work.
Right.
And the overhead on this is not small for my show, so you guys don't see everything else, but if you want to see a tour, there's stuff on my Facebook page. I'm sure I've got it linked there, but people say you're going to open this thing up and let people. I'm using it.
Using all of your studios that you built?
Not as much of the green screen as I thought I would, but I'm using the demo room quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
So,
okay.
And I'm looking to always improve that because, especially when I'm doing interactive stuff, I can see you. In the demo room, I can't see you now. You're off to the side. That's the reason I haven't done a show over there, because I probably got to get one more TV so I can patch you over so I can see you. But maybe we'll be able to. I don't know. It's interesting to do the show.
Yeah, I'm doing an upgrade too. I just got.
Aha! Look at there, the Rodecaster.
Yeah. So I'm going to be totally redoing my studio here and upgrading it.
Yeah.
So. I'm still using an analog mixer on the Mackie mixer. That's what I'm using. I've had this for probably
years,
since the mid 2000s.
Wow.
So yeah,
it's service. You don't throw it out. You're going to find a need for it.
No, it's an awesome mixer. I mean, it's got great quiet preamps, and I've got a $600 audio interface that it's portable. I could take it on the road if I want to.
And
slips in a bag.
By the way, Elon, if you're watching this show, we do accept Starlink sponsorships. Be happy to put a Starlink logo back there instead of the Red Bull, the one that's not getting me paid any money. Yeah,
we would be more than happy to take a third of this show and just talk about Tesla products
with Elon's money. Hell yeah!
Right. Well, I'm an investor in Tesla, so
I know you are.
Okay. Yeah.
That stock is insane. You got to have you got to sell a kid to buy one share now. It's like what, $500 or something.
It's not as bad as Amazon. My God, Amazon. Geez, it's like $3,500 a share.
Why don't they split that?
Nah, that's Jeff Bezos.
Well, when a stock price is $3,500, that's what Intel did. They split. They kept splitting the stock.
Well, that's exactly what Tesla did. They just in the last year they did a 5-for-1 split. And what happened is that when they split it, it wasn't that much of a different price than it is now.
Right.
So it basically, 5 times the stock right on the split, and I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
People were used to buying at that high level, and it was going to come back again.
Yeah.
And it did.
Well, here's the way I look at it too. I don't think there's you told me I should get, what is that truck they're making?
Oh, the Cybertruck. Yeah.
Yeah,
Both Rob Walsh and I are on the wait list for one of those.
Really? You're going to drive a truck?
It doesn't exactly look like a normal truck, Todd. Actually, I used to own a big Ford F-250.
How many miles will the Cybertruck go on one charge?
500.
So, okay, that's good, because you should see down here how many charging stations there are.
Todd, all you need is a 220 outlet and you're good to go. Seriously.
For your house, if you live in a home. But if you live in a condo, good luck. Good luck getting a charger added to your condo or your townhouse.
That's true.
Go to your association, say, I want to put in a charger. And they're going to say, oh, yeah, well, $8,000 later. Because I know that's what it cost my friend to do one in a condo. It cost him $8,000 to run a charger to his parking spot in his condo.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If you live in a house, that's fine. There's no problem. But
right, that's right.
Look at the split of density of people, how they live.
Well, there's more and more public charging stations that are out there that these cars are getting to a point where you can fully charge them in 15 minutes.
In big cities, there is lots of charging options. You get about
it's spreading around the country.
Okay. You get 30, 40 miles outside of a city, and guess what? You better have a full charge. But at 500 miles, that's good range. How much what are those going to sell for?
What, the Cybertruck?
Yeah.
The one that I ordered, I think, is $49,000. It's not that expensive, Todd.
$49,000.
Yeah.
Do you get a 10-year? Do you get a 10-year note on that? Holy shoot! $49,000.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Crazy money for a car.
Well, you're going to get like a $7,500 federal rebate back on it too.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Is that because doesn't Tesla get so many? Oh, is it because it's a new model? They're still going to get the federal rebate.
Yeah.
So okay, that takes you to 42.5.
Right.
You put 20,000 down.
Right.
And or 10. Most people can't.
Yeah, I've got a car now that I'll sell. So.
What do you drive now?
I've got a 2019 Camry.
Okay. So you get some money back on that. That'll help. So that'll offset it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
$49,000. Good Lord.
Well, that's the middle of the road model. That's not the high end.
So I bet you Rob did Rob buy the high end? Did Rob Walsh buy the high end one?
Yeah, I think he was looking for the three motor one, which is I believe that one's like $59,000, something like that.
Yeah, I need to come work for Libsyn. I'm just kidding.
Plus, Todd, it's going to go from 0 to 60 in like 2.5 seconds.
Oh, that all works good until you hit second 3 and you end up sideways in the road. But 500-mile range is pretty good. That's impressive. That's actually worth considering. But
plus, it's got bulletproof glass.
What?
Bulletproof side panel, so you can't even dent it.
Really?
Yeah.
Bulletproof glass?
Bulletproof glass, bulletproof side panels to the vehicle.
Are you becoming a head of state? What's the...
Todd, it's that way because it's cool,
Uh-huh.
In the next kind of civil war that we get into. That's
whatever. So
topic, right?
Wow. Well, anyway, we've blown a lot of smoke up Elon Musk's butt this afternoon. So, but I'm pretty jazzed about the Starlink thing, and so I'm looking forward to summertime maybe and being able to have one of these bad boys.
Yeah. That's true. That would be good.
Yeah.
Online speed is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what else is going on in podcasting news? We haven't even talked about the news today. We've been all over the place.
We have been. Actually, I think for a while there, we turned the show back into the Saturday morning tech show.
Yeah, I think so.
We did. Right.
But I'm just excited about, I had to share the dealio with, so let me look here. What's going on here? So you already talked about some of this stuff earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, Hindenburg is doing a sale right now.
Are they now?
Yeah. So they've announced their traditional World Radio Day sales on February 13th, which is today. There's a 40% discount. Hindenburg Journalist Pro drops from $375 to $225. They've also donated $25,000 from previous sales to Cultural Survival. So if you want to if you've been thinking about buying Hindenburg, today's the day. It's a big discount.
Yeah.
And actually,
that's a good deal.
And actually, officially today, I can talk about the upcoming Discovery special on the new 747 presidential aircraft. I was on the early preview of the upcoming series that's basically going to talk about the new aircraft.
Really?
Yep. So,
what's cool in that? Does it support its own podcast directory?
No. But I was under NDA until today to talk.
Do we
about
have to create a new destination to submit the podcast to the Air Force One?
Yeah, everyone's got their mobile phones. They're good.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Darn.
Yeah. So I'll be putting an article on Geek News Central about the series. So, and I'm excited to. It's coming on next week. I think is when it's going to be available.
Oh, okay.
But
awesome.
Anyway, we've talked a lot. I keep bringing up non-podcasting topics here. Sorry.
Well, I guess last week was the Austria's podcast awards. I saw.
So we need to. I think how many awards are there now? 10, 12, 20?
Oh, probably at least 20.
Yeah. Don't forget you can register for the People's Choice Podcast Awards at podcastawards.com. Registration is open.
These guys had 30,000 podcast nominations.
What? 30,000 shows?
Yeah. Says the first prize went to, I can't even.
Yeah.
The show's called, in English, it's Explain the World to Me. Yeah. Interesting.
I think we've run out of stuff to talk about. Kind of a slow news day.
Yeah, there's not a lot of announcements out.
Although we could be looking at something coming in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That we can't talk about yet.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That'll be a pretty.
Yeah. It's gonna be
that'll be a significant one.
Yeah, it'll be a big one. Yep.
Yeah.
And you get a certain group of people. Certain group of people excited.
Yeah, a big group of people. I think. I don't.
Oh, I think so.
We'll see. Yeah.
It is baby steps. I just say that with baby steps.
I don't want to set too much over expectations here.
Right. But there is, again, more distribution coming.
There's room for hope.
Oh, there's room for expansion.
Growth.
Yeah, growth. More listeners.
Yep.
So.
Which is what we were always talking about.
Yeah.
So, that's what we want.
All right, Rob. Let's get everybody out of here.
Okay.
By the way, no show. I don't think. Well, we'll have to talk. We'll see if there's going to be a show Wednesday. Definitely no live show Wednesday. So schedule's going to be a little weird here for a couple of weeks. But Rob, did you have anything scheduled with anybody to do an interview? Did we get?
Well, I think what we were positioned to potentially do is more of a pre-recorded show.
Oh, from the thing today. Okay.
No, from having Steve Wilson on,
Okay.
and possibly having Jordan on would be probably a pre-recorded thing, so it fits into their schedules too.
Right.
Because I think it's going to be a while before we come back with a live video show, right? It's going to be a couple weeks.
Yeah, a couple weeks. So
we might want to try and pre-record probably, if we can, Wednesday and Saturdays for the next couple weeks.
Yep, sounds good.
Or if maybe we can do the show on Clubhouse.
Potentially, yep. So
because I'll have my my Rodecaster, so I'll be able to record it on Clubhouse.
Okay.
And I don't know if we can push it out live to any other listening platforms, but that might be something that we explore.
I have to think about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, all right, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Todd at Blueberry.com, at Geek News on Twitter.
Okay. I'm on Twitter as well, at Rob Greenlee, and you can send me an email, robg@libsyn.com.
I want to thank you for being here. And we did, one of the gentleman that donated actually is doing it on a reoccurring basis. So he's actually contributing $15 a month to the show every month. So,
thank you very much.
Yeah. And he's a big supporter of the Podcast Index and the Podcast 2.0 stuff that's going on. So, big shout out.
I've been seeing, more and more apps and platforms picking up tags here and there.
Yep.
So things do seem to be moving in a good direction there.
Yeah, we've got a bunch coming, and very soon to be released PowerPress update, but I don't want to get ahead of myself here too much on that. So,
yeah.
All right, everyone.
And we'll keep following the binaural audio story here, and who knows, I might have a binaural microphone. I'll do the show one of these days.
Okay. All right. I'm sure that'll sound interesting with your ears on the microphone.
Ears, my mouth to your ears.
We're already doing that. Stop. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time here on the New Media Show. Everyone, take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.